Hi parents, the purpose of this video is to explain the notification of 6th grade tag placement form that recently went home. We will be having a tag parent meeting in the coming days, but if you have any remaining questions, hopefully this video will help to answer it. So the form that came home looks like this, except that it has your child's name on there and their particular scores. So what I'm going to do is walk you through the different types of criteria that determine if your child will be taking middle school tag science and or social studies. So you can see the two potential tag classes that your child could be signed up for are the science and social studies courses. The data that we use to determine their placement is the 2017 Iowa scores in that content area, so their social studies national percentile rank or their science national percentile rank, their semester 1 grade average, teacher recommendation, and using all of that information will then determine which course they're registered for. This paragraph right here is explaining how we have two sets of criteria. We begin with the initial placement criteria, which I'll go over, and if a child does not meet what the criteria is, we can move to the alternative placement criteria. The key with alternative placement criteria is that they can only be placed in one class using that alternative placement. So to begin with, we look at the initial placement. Are they eligible for tag? So everyone that's coming to see myself or Ms. Shifley, yes. The recommendation of the 5th grade teacher. Do they have a class average of 90% or better for the first semester in that content area? And then their Iowa achievement score of 90th percentile. They must have all four of these in order to meet the initial placement criteria. So if your child has 90 or greater, yes for the teacher recommendation, they will be registered in that tag class. If they do not meet, and usually the area that will not be the met component is the Iowa scores. So if the Iowa score is less than 90%, they cannot be registered using the initial placement criteria in that tag class. So then we look to the alternative placement criteria. Now the alternative placement, you'll notice a lot of similarities. It's also eligible for tag services. Are they recommended by their 5th grade teacher? And the cumulative class average in that same content area, so the science or social studies. The difference here is we look at the Iowa reading, but they still need a 90th percentile or higher. So now let's talk about a couple of the combinations that you might be seeing on your course registration or your child's course registration. So for whichever of the two courses they meet the initial placement criteria, they will be registered for the tag science or the tag social studies. If they meet the alternative placement criteria, which is usually determined by the 90% or greater in the Iowa total reading score, they can be placed in one of these tag classes using that alternative placement criteria. So you might see that your child meets the initial criteria for social studies, therefore they're placed in tag social studies, and then they meet the alternative criteria for science, and they're placed in tag science. You may also notice that your child doesn't meet any of the criteria, usually again because of the Iowa scores. What that would mean is we would still place your child in one tag class simply because if they are not taking any tag courses, that effectively means that they are not participating in the tag program at all. And so we're not going to let, or the county is not going to let your child no longer be eligible for tag services because of not meeting one of these data points right here. One important thing to note is that you can certainly opt for your child to take fewer than the recommended number of tag classes. When considering this, you should be gauging your child's interests, their study skills, and their extracurricular activities. That is truly the only change that we can make to their schedule, is to drop a tag course. So if you'd like to drop a tag course from your child's registration, you can just email myself or Ms. Shifley. Please make sure that you do that by March 16th. The reason that a child that is only eligible to take one tag class cannot be signed up for two is that it's based on the funding, and so the school is simply not given the funding in order to staff that teacher and create that class for your child. However, if your child shows that they have mastery of the content, the middle school will be looking at placements and could potentially move your child into a tag class when they begin 6th grade on an on-level class. Those placements are looked at the 18-week mark and at the end of the school year. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please feel free to reach out. My email is right here at the bottom, garrettson@fultonschools.org, if you have any questions or concerns.